Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely stream deck. For more information about the stream deck, the link is in the description below.
Hello everyone and welcome to Hype Energy Apex Online Racing PC F1 round number 21 or round number 17 with the revised championship. I am Fizzymon and I'll be taking you one last time this season around this time around the Yas Marina circuit here. We got 14 drivers today, so the new rule that was enabled this season, which says that if we are 14 drivers or under, and this is for the top split only at the moment, if there are 14 drivers or under, everyone will go out and do qualifying normally. But then for the race, we will reset the lobby, and everyone will have their own choice of tire selection. So Park Ferme is in essence enabled, but for the race, everyone has their own tires they can choose from. So ideally, you'd want to keep the same setup. I believe there's no way to enforce the setup issue, but it's just more of an honor system for the time being. So, we got 17 minutes left in qualifying now as the drivers begin their first out laps and then provisional hot laps. The first guy out on track is Norbert Jacob, and the Hungarian looking to have one last good Grand Prix. He was within several tenths of a victory last week, but can he finally close that little bit of a gap, make that late overtake, and win his first race here in F1. He's been really close. Last week was his closest this season, but I'm sure he'd want to stand on the top step of the podium with this being the last race of the season. So, speaking of last race, our race winner last week, Jan Fehler, out on track as well in his McLaren. He is third up in the queue. He had a very strong race last week, qualifying up front and then just running away. So we're looking forward to see what Jan Fehler has to offer today, as I'm sure a lot of these drivers will be varying their tire strategies, which there are a handful of strategies you can do around this track, as the two-stop is just as fast, if not maybe a tad faster than the one-stop based off of whatever the driver's paces are. The strategies, off the top of my head, you can do soft, medium, medium. You can do two soft stints and one medium stint, whatever order. It's a little trickier because the softs they do drop off really quickly and with lower wear, so we'll have to wait and see what the drivers decide. You can do a medium hard. You can even do a soft medium strategy if you time it right and if you get a lucky safety car. But if there is a safety car on track today, it'll completely change up the strategies, as we will certainly see drivers pitting and changing things up. So we never hope for a safety car, but it would definitely add a little bit of chaos to the race. Now, as you see, Jan Fehler going purple sector 1, but it's hard to tell how that is compared to the drivers ahead of him and behind him, as no one has set an official hot lap. This 21 corner track is very easy to invalidate your lap on, especially if you're trying to maximize your speed around the track. So you're gonna these drivers really got to be careful as they make their way through the corners. Got a yellow flag in sector 2. I believe that is Duza slowing up down the back straight. He has invalidated his lap, looking to save a little bit of fuel so he can go another time. So yeah, it does look like Alfa Romeo is going to win the Constructors Championship, as the Red Bulls have not shown up today. Paris Burrell and Dylan Warren, neither of them have shown up today. Unfortunate, but we are still looking pretty good right now. And yeah, Alfa Romeo with Florian Knapik and Tom 97. Tom's still in the pits, our championship leader. But what does Norbert Jacob come across the line with? He does a 32.7. That's a very quick banker lap. The Hungarian already lighting up our timing boards. But I think his next closest competitor, Jan Fehler, currently coming through turn 21 now. Turn 21 for the 21 race season we had. And Jan Fehler goes on provisional pole with a 32.7. So he's got 500ths ahead of Jacob. Scrippy is in P3, wrong driver there. We got another Alfa Romeo. Florian's coming back into the pits. Duza coming around the final corner now to start another flying lap, or another hot lap, excuse me. I believe that is Zoran coming around the last corner. No, Zoran's in the third sector on an invalidated lap. His teammate Christian Sendel just jumps to the top of the leaderboard as we got a change to him with a 132.5. So the German making a statement. He showed a lot of pace around Brazil, but he was kind of stuck in a DRS train at the back of it in that like second group of guys. But I'm sure he's looking to start a little farther up the grid and compete more heavily for a podium this race. So great lap by the German to start the session. 32.5. That's a phenomenal banker lap. So, but only 5 drivers have set valid laps. Kalachu, who's been very quick in recent weeks, is currently, I believe, going through the second sector through the hairpin now. He still has a way to go, but his teammate Brownie currently rounding turn 21 now. What kind of lap will this be? Brownie comes across the line with a 32.767. That's good enough for P4. So not too bad of a lap for Brownie there as Jacob returns to the pits in the background. Let's go find the one. Actually, no. Let's go look for Duza. We know he invalidated his first lap. It's a 56.6 middle sector. Not purple, but we'll have to keep an eye on Duza now. Let's ride on board with him rather than that like side pod camera that's a little funky. But yes, McLaren coming through the final corners now. Let's see what Duza can do. I will answer the Alfa Romeo question shortly because I need to check to confirm, but I believe they've basically won it. Duza comes across the line, and it's a 32 flat. So let me pull up, because I did not actually take a look at the team's championship standings before the race. And since we're still somewhat early on in the session, hopefully there is nothing too big happening on track. I'm going to take a look at the results table, go all the way to the top, and to confirm, if we look at the team championship, Alfa Romeo has a 28-point lead going into this race, and with Red Bull fielding none of their drivers, Alfa Romeo is your team / constructors champion. So Alfa Romeo's Florian Knapik and Tom 97. Why won't there is Florian trying to show him off there, is the constructors champion. So this Alfa Romeo is looking mighty quick this season. Hats off to them. Great team effort by the two of them. But in the meantime, we got a couple more laps. Kalachu went P10 with 33.3. Ben Q's 33.2. Bogan 33.2. Kryzik's 33 flat. And Duza 33.0 like we saw before. It's not too many improvements now as Florian starts his first, well, I believe it's his first hot lap. He did an hot lap before, came back in, but now he's going once again through the first sector. It's purple, it's a 16.7. That's a mighty quick first sector. But can the German driver keep this momentum going? He needs to have a low 56, maybe even a 55 middle sector. I forget what the exact delta is for the middle sector. I think it's a 56. All right, trying to remember this off the top of my head. But the lower the better. Now as he comes into the heavy braking zone turn 8, that's where we're going to see a lot of overtakes today, as it's a pretty long DRS straight breaking into that chicane. But if you're going to invalidate your lap on the exit of 9 and into 10, you will not be able to set a good lap, and that was exactly what happened to Florian there. So as Bogan is currently on an in lap now. He's only in P8. We saw him have a really good lap around Brazil, putting him towards the front. Not looking as quick today, but 9 minutes, 50 seconds left. There's plenty of time to improve on that. No one else is on a hot lap at the moment. Let's take a look at Zoran's Ferrari, actually. He's on an out lap right now. Zoran has had an alright season since he moved up to Split 1 with several other drivers. He was Mr. Consistent in Tier 2, avoiding penalties. Been a little bit more of a rocky road here in Split 1, but I'm sure Zoran is looking to get some points today, the Hungarian, who's shown a decent amount of pace previously. But I think let's put the spotlight now on Norbert Jacob, who is starting his next flying lap. The only one on track currently who's on a hot lap, because everyone else on track is on an out lap. The Hungarian looking to improve. He needs to get at least 2/10 on this lap. He gets already over a 10th in the first sector. He's flying, holding third gear through turns 5 and 6. Now second through turn 7. Short shifting up to third on the exit. And it's looking pretty good so far. Nice and tidy. Right, the Alpha Tauri driver now going down the long back straight, hitting a nice maximum speed. Is about 328 kilometers. Now he goes even higher, 329. Very heavy braking. That lockup will not help him going into 8 and then out of 9. Gets pretty good traction on the exit though, riding the curb through 10 now. So I'm not sure if that's quicker by that line, but we'll have to keep an eye on it now as he goes through the sector mark. He's only 10th up, not a purple emitter sector. He actually lost a little bit of time there on this lap. Up the 4th gear through 11, 12, 13, and now through 14. Another short shift back up to 4th as he goes through what you could consider a double right-hander here, about 15 and 16, and then 17. It's a nice 90-degree corner, followed by an almost 90-degree corner of turn 18, and another almost 90-degree corner of 19, which is very tricky because you think you can really plan it on the exit, but you still got to watch that throttle. Now coming through 20 and now through the final corner of 21, holds 4th gear, and on the exit, what will it be? It'll be a 32.554. It is not good enough for pole. He's exactly 9 thousandths off of Christian Sendel, so close yet so far for him. Jan Fehler in the 3rd sector though, can he improve on his time and potentially steal pole position? Let's go look at the gaps again. Oh, keep scrolling through like a little maniac there. Fehler coming out of the final corner now. Can he stick it on pole? He does. It's a 132.454. He has got a gap, almost a 10th to Christian Sendel, who slightly improves on his time by 17 thousandths of a second, but he cannot retake pole from Fehler. Brownie is starting a lap right now. He's in the 2nd sector, slightly improved 1st sector, but he still is going to need to find 2.5 tenths this lap. So who else is looking like they're flying right now? Bogan is starting a hot lap. Got the Alfa Romeos in the 3rd sector. Got a Racing Point starting the 3rd sector of Kryzik. So let's take a look at how he's doing. He's on a slow lap right now. He's over 3 seconds off. So he might be trying to make another run or just returning back to the pits. Hard to tell who else is really on a lap. Why don't we just take a look at Bogan for now, the Polish driver in the Williams. Slight improvement through Sector 1, but he's got a lot of time, I think, that he can improve on this lap. He must have made a major mistake because he's usually not 7 tenths off a pole position. Even with this track being a tricky circuit, I do expect him to improve this lap. Maybe we'll see when he gets to the Sector 2 mark if there's an improvement, a lock up there. A lot of drivers locking up into turn 8. You know, really trying to go as late as possible on the brakes. So it's definitely not hurting their tire life, but again, because we're resetting the session, these tires will not be used again, so the drivers can do whatever they want to the tires. And Bogan now 2 tenths up on his lap, or down on his lap, so he's looking a little quicker this time around. But can he find about a half a second in the final sector and possibly compete for the top 4? Since that would basically be the gap at this point. He's got an Alpha Tauri in front of him getting out of the way. I believe that's Daigoro moving out of the way for the Polish driver. And he's going to invalidate on the exit of 18 and through 19. So Bogan's got 5.5 minutes left to try again as he's going to return to the pits now. Daigoro's also on an in lap behind him as he invalidated his lap. But you know who's on a lap right now is Tom 97. Tom, hard to tell what his second sector, doesn't look like he's definitely not pushing at all. I mean, a 124 is through the middle sector, so he is definitely just kind of cruising around the track right now. Might have made a mistake or something where he decided to go again, so we'll keep an eye on the Alfa Romeo driver going forward through this lap. He's got Kryzik ahead. Kryzik is on a flyer, though, and he is currently looking pretty quick. Hard to tell what his first 2 sectors were, as the game doesn't give us sector times, which would be very nice. But now he's going to invalidate on the exit of 20 and quickly dive back into the pits just in time. He's got enough time to do probably 2 more runs, but not 2 more trips to the pit lane. So that's unfortunate to see. He's Brownie now on an in lap as well. Kalachu also on an in lap. Tom 97 about 30 seconds off of pole position, kind of just cruising around the track right now. Not sure what he's trying to do. Maybe just get a little bit of a warm-up in before he decides to just full send it. Could be trying to do a last to first challenge again. We saw him do it at Brazil. Got close to the front, but wasn't able to close up on Failer and Jacob ahead. So, but Tom was still really quick last weekend around, so I'll have to see if he can carry that momentum and carve through the field once again. It'll be very tricky, but this track has plenty of overtaking spots. So as long as you can kind of keep with the drivers through the first sector, the middle sector is full of overtaking opportunities. And even the third sector, you know, if you're on the better tire compound, you might be able to get a good run out of a corner and maybe stick it up somewhere where you normally wouldn't. But we'll have to keep an eye on what happens. But Tom's kind of just going slowly around the track right now. So that's kind of where we're at in the session. The drivers gearing up for their final run. We got Duza, who's still looking to improve on his lap, on an at lap right now, 6/10 off a pole with a 133. So we'll have to wait and see if the German can beat his best lap, you know, because if he can slightly, well, he actually can't. He needs to improve on it. Trizix is right behind him. He needs to find at least a 10.5 if he wants to nab P6, and a lot more than that if he wants to crack the top 4, which is doable. But we'll have to wait and see what Duza can do. So keep an eye on him now, as he's the first driver to start what I would assume is his last hot lap. As by the time he comes around the finish line once again, he will not have enough time to return to the pits and go out again. So let's ride on board with him actually now. Let's give him a little bit of the spotlight, that nice rainbow on the halo of that McLaren, a nice papaya orange. You know, matching his first sector time, 16.707 is a very quick first sector. But it's all about the rest of the lap now. Can he find the time he needs? A very clean exit out of turn 7 onto the long back straight now. Let's see. I think he's probably going to max out at 329. A lot of these drivers are probably running somewhat similar setups. Yeah, so he gets 329 right there. Doesn't hit 330. A little bit of a lockup there. You know, a little tighter line than what we've seen. Hops the exit sausage curb and does not lose traction on exit there. He's keeping his lap valid. Duza looking pretty quick so far on this lap, but what's it going to be at the Sector 2 mark? It's going to be 4.5 tenths up on his lap. He's purple through the middle sector, looking mighty quick as Tom retires from the session. So Tom is looking to do a last to first challenge this week, but Duza right now is on an absolute cracker. He's only a 10.5 off a pole right now. Can he nail this third sector? He's holding third gear, does not get an invalidation for that as he's flirting with the track limits, going through the third sector, keeping it nice and tidy. Short shifting to fourth gear on the exit of 19 now, and just 2 corners to go. Doesn't lose the back end. Very nice stability on that McLaren. Coming out of the final corner now, a little bit of rear wheel spin. Will that cost him? Yes, that will cost him just enough. It's a 32.562. I don't think he's got enough time to do one more lap. But losing the rear end there probably cost him 2 positions, as he is under 0.02 of a second from third place. But a fantastic lap by Duza. Hats off to him. So, but does anyone have an answer behind? Is the question. Kryzik's now going down the second DRS straight. He's got cars moving out of the way, and then he's got 2 rounds ahead. He's purple through the middle sector. 3 tenths up on his lap. Can Kryzik perhaps spoil Duza's good run there and beat him, and then perhaps beat other drivers? We'll have to wait and see now what the Racing Point driver can do. The Frenchman, you know, 6 tenths off pole, so he had a 33 flat, but you know, I expect everyone or almost everyone to be in the 32s, as these guys are mighty quick, and for what I've seen in time trial, it certainly reflects that. Kryzik's keeping it valid through the final 2 quarters now. It's going to come across the line. What will it be for the Frenchman? It will be provisional pole with a 32.4. What a lap by Kryzik's. But now he's just got to pray that the likes of Jan Failer or Christian Sendel, Brownie, Norbert Jacob cannot beat that time. So as we're looking at the trap Mac now, Duza's in the final sector. He'll be the next first one to cross the line with the checkered flag. He will not improve on his lap. It looks like he's on an in lap. Next up, we have the Haas of BenQ going through the third sector. He's 8 tenths off a pole. He's shown some good pace this season, but we'll have to see if he can improve on that P10 starting position now as he goes through the final sector. It's got that low fuel icon. So Duza retires from the session, which makes sense considering he was not going to improve because he was not on a lap anyways. BenQ will come across the line and he will jump up to P9 for the checkered flag. Next is going to be Norbert Jacob coming across the line. He's provisional pole with a 132.2. Next up is Daigoro. He has invalidated his lap. We got the Ferrari behind. Is that Christian Sendel or is that Zoran? That is Zoran coming out of the final corner now. Can he beat his time? It's going to be a 133.3. He's up to P11. Now is where it gets interesting. Jan Fehler, he's already a 10th improved on his lap. Coming out of the final corner now. Can Fehler steal pole? No. He's still a 10th off. Next is Florian Knapik. Florian jumps up to P7. Now we got the two Reynolds in the third sector. It's first going to be Kalachu, down Brownie, but we'll keep an eye on Brownie right now as he's currently higher up. Brownie's going to invalidate his lap. Can Kalachu improve on his position? No, Kalachu has invalidated. Scrippy now has invalidated as well. Kryzik's behind. I don't believe he's on a push lap. He's on an in lap. Can Bogan get into the top 10? No, he is invalidated as well. What about Christian Sendel? Christian Sendel's improved on his lap, and Christian Sendel goes up to P2 with a 132.2. A purple last sector, but Norbert Jacob had a absolutely phenomenal lap, does a 132.220, and takes pole position by a little bit of a margin. So an absolutely fantastic lap for the Hungarian, which is definitely what he's looking for as he's trying to secure that first season race victory. So interesting to see what happens. I don't believe Christian Sendel actually has a race victory this season either, so the front row is made up of drivers who do not have a victory to their tally and would be definitely looking forward to add one. So there is your starting order for the race, folks. Norbert Jacob in P1, Christian Sendel in P2, Jan Fehler in P3, Kryzik's P4, Brownie P5, Duza P6, Florian Knapik P7, Scrippy P8, Kalachu P9, BenQ P10, Bogan P11, Zoran P12, Daigoro in 13th, and Tom97 starting from the back once again in 14th. So it's looking like it's going to be a very exciting race today. The grid is a little bit spread out. So as the lobby is getting restarted, let me go ahead and pause the music. We'll kind of just sit on the cover page. We'll see if I can maybe pull up the standings. You know, give us a little bit of, a little bit of metrics maybe to look at. You know, like fair play, performance, and whatnot. Maybe a little bit of statistics. I'll pull up the stats, see what we have like to show off per se. I'll zoom in on that before I show this page. Alright, so let's take a look now. We'll go to scene there. You can see my desktop, not the cleanest thing, but it's okay. If you look at our grid right now in our championship, it's clear that Tom is our championship winner. That was confirmed at Mexico. Perilous is basically secured at P2 with Elgato Miracle for Fehler to beat him, and I don't believe he can beat him because of those race victories that Paris has to his name. Brownie is in P4, Fehler P3, Norbert Jacob P5, Kryzik's P6. Now, that front row of Christian Sendel, Christian only has one podium, a P2 at Singapore. So he's looking to get his second podium of the season. Norbert Jacob has gotten second twice, but has not stood on the top step of the podium either. So the two of them looking to have their first race win of the season, or at least, another P2. Look at statistics now. I mean, Tom 97's got 4 wins to his name. Paris has got 5. Tom has 6 poles on the season, but it's starting from the back. His position gained because of, all those poles is a negative 0.1. Dylan Warren's lost what I believe is the most positions. But the biggest movers usually are Brownie, who goes up 4.9 positions. And Hittinen is not racing today. Zoran usually goes up 2.8. Daigoro goes up 2.8. So we got some guys, who've statistically been pretty good. Now let's go to the cover there. Yep. Have statistically been very good at improving their position during the race. We'll have to wait and see what happens today as we are loading back into the lobby now. And then once we are fully loaded into the session, we will go ahead and get the race going. So while we wait here, I'm going to take a quick minute break, let my voice rest, grab some water, and we'll be right back with you shortly for some more Apex Online Racing action. we are currently still waiting for everyone to rejoin the lobby, so just hang on, you know, give it a minute or two more. Some drivers are currently relaunching the game. So, looks like Dylan Warren is loaded up as well. Not sure if he is driving today. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens as the rest of the grid reforms. A couple facts about this race. It had 1 year in actual Formula 1. They did double points, as a lot of you probably know. And that race went very interesting. It was not highly rated, so they did not repeat that. Here today, we are doing just normal points, you know, no double points, nothing fancy. But it is 28 laps, and it should be a lot of fun. I mean, personally, I do not think this track is too fun to drive, but drivers have said otherwise, and they are the ones racing, and I'm the one commentating, and I'm sure they'll give us plenty of action here today around Yas Marina circuit. So I'm looking forward to seeing what these guys bring to the table today. So we got 12 of the 14 drivers currently loaded up, waiting on 2 more at this time, and then we'll be good to go. The lights will be out, and we will be underway. Trying to figure out who we are missing at the moment. Looks like Daigoro and Florian. So let's make sure they go ahead and get on in here. We got 14 drivers back in the lobby now. So drivers are beginning to ready up. So the racing will be underway very shortly, folks. Appreciate you waiting as we are resetting the lobby, because once again, a new rule wasn't stated where if we had 14 drivers or less in a race, and there's exactly 14, we will reset the lobby after qualifying, so that way drivers have their choice of tire compounds. So, you know, drivers won't be going out on mediums or, you know, just kind of just mucking about and qualifying. That way they, you know, go in the race, you know, you get to choose what tires you want, but you actually like push for it in qualifying still to give you a little bit more action as we go into the race, you know, warming up. So I appreciate it, yeah. I wouldn't say my voice is too deep, but it's raspy a little bit because it gets worn out. My acid reflux isn't always nice to me, but I do appreciate the kind words. So I'm looking forward to bringing you one last race this season. Now, it's been a pleasure as always. Right now, I did mention I would do this prior to staff members. Even though this is the last Formula 1 race of the season, sign-ups for the next one will probably open up within a month, I would assume. So we will be bringing you back more Formula 1 racing soon. Now, a few weekends off, you know, so unfortunately you won't be able to watch that. But if you want more racing content from Apex Online Racing, we do have an Assetto Corsa Competizione League. I do commentate one of those splits, actually, for AOR. You know, and the top split races tomorrow and on Mondays, and then the second split, the one I commentate, is on Tuesdays. So there's plenty of more action. Those are GT3 cars. A lot of fun to watch, a lot of fun to drive, and bigger grids because it's GT racing, so they have generally bigger grids. So very exciting racing, you know, that we would like to continue to provide. And if you're interested in, you know, other kind of racing, it's definitely worth the watch. So we hope that you guys come and watch that as well. So there are 3 more rounds with that season. So that should kind of fill the void that's being left by F1. But in the meantime, the drivers are here at Abu Dhabi. We are loading into the lobby now, officially. So we will be underway shortly as the night sky of Abu Dhabi, and I assume it would just be dry because we're basically in the desert. So rain here would be very, very unwelcome, as these drivers, I'm sure no one practiced for rain around here, as it is just, it is not ideal, but it's looking like we got dry skies now. Loading and just waiting for the drivers to start the formation lap, then I'll switch back over to the game. I'll turn on the game volume as well. But in the meantime, you know, the drivers loading up, getting their settings loaded up, making sure that they are not using a default setup. Because as most of us know, racing a 28-lap race with a default setup when you have a setup that's completely different from it sucks. So definitely hoping that everyone gets themselves ready to go here for one last time this season. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what this race has to offer. One last time, our starting grid. On pole position is Norbert Jacob in the AlphaTauri, Christian Sendel in the Ferrari, Jan Fehler in his McLaren, Kreisix in his Racing Point, Brownie in the Renault, Duza in the sister McLaren, Florian Knapik in the Alfa Romeo, which has won the Constructors, Scrippy in the Mercedes, Kalachu in his Renault, Ben Q starting in P10 in the Haas, XPG Bogan, P11 in the Williams, P12 is Zorn in the other Ferrari, 13th is FCT Daigoro in the other AlphaTauri, and last but not least is your AOR Season 20 F1 champion, Tom97 in his Alfa Romeo. So that is the starting grid for today. Not sure what tire compounds people are going to start on, as personally, I know from practice that usually, you qualify on the soft, you go softs or whatever. You can do the mediums at the start. Try to stretch out the softs more, maybe do a medium, soft, medium, medium, soft. There's a lot of different ways you can go about this race. But I don't know, because I haven't seen enough on drivers starting in the back. Some guys could be on the hards and going for a hard, medium, hard, soft even. So curious to see what the grid, everyone decides on the grid. So especially our guys up front of Norbert Jacob and Christian Sendel. So as now we've got 5 seconds and then the grid will form up. So we will return to the game now. We will unmute the game now. Everyone's loading up here. And we are on the grid for the lights out for the formation lap here. 28 laps around Abu Dhabi. What kind of tires are we looking at? Everyone but one driver is on the mediums. That one driver is Jan Fehler on the soft compounded tire. So seeing the mediums makes me wonder, will we be seeing medium hard, medium soft, medium soft? I don't know. I'm very curious to see what these guys decide to do today. Oh, let's make sure we got the full track map. We'll keep the lap data enabled for now. And we'll for now keep on the telemetry. Actually, we'll turn off the telemetry for now. We don't really need it. It is the formation lap. And early on, everyone's going to have most of their batteries, so no point in flaunting those numbers. And now as the drivers come around the 21 corners, this race shouldn't be too long. I mean, if the math is correct, it's 28 laps, about a minute 37, give or take a second per lap. So it should be about a 45-minute race, give or take. So if there's a safety car, it might go up closer to 50 minutes. So plenty of time for drivers to move up and down the order. Likes to see the likes of Tom97 go from last to first in that shiny Alfa Romeo. And it's plenty of time to give us action at the front. Can Jan Fehler, being the only driver on the softs, get a good launch and clear the two ahead? Because he's going to need to get ahead and pull away, if possible, from the drivers ahead. So it's a tall order to ask, that's for sure. As overtaking, again, overtaking is not too hard around here because you do have those two huge straights. But sticking close behind someone, especially through Sector 3, is very tricky. He has the tire compound advantage, so we'll see if he can get a good enough launch off the line and make it the moves before turn 1. Now, another thing to note, the odd number drivers, or starting positions, are starting on the right-hand side of the track, while evens get the inside. So that is interesting to note. As going around the outside, it gives you more time to run off the track. But there you go. The game is recommending medium, medium, soft, or triple soft, medium, which I don't think anyone will be stopping 3 times unless they absolutely have to today, as that is certainly not ideal at all. But now the drivers are lining up, back up on the grid now. You can see Tom97 rounding out the order. This 14-car grid today, looking to give us racing one last time this season for Season 20. We hope you guys are all ready to go. We got the lights are on. Let's see, there they go. 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, and 5 lights. And away we go. We are underway here at Abu Dhabi for one last time. It's a very good start by Norbert Jacob and Jan Fehler. Fehler's trying to go around the outside of Christian Sendel into turn 1. Norbert Jacob's clear of everyone, and Fehler gets a good enough run out of turn 1. He's up to P2. Sendel down to P3. Kreisix only P4. Scrippy going side by side with Duza, along with Florian Knapik. The two of them, it looks like Scrippy's going to be ahead of Duza. Duza's got to deal with Florian. Now they're still going to be side by side. Duza's just dropping down the order. Can Duza send it up the inside of the hairpin? Slight contact, no damage. Florian Knapik's going to get the better run around the outside and have the position. There's contact in the back between Kalashu and Bogan. No, hitting side pods a little bit. Bogan's going to nestle in behind Kalachu, but positions will hold steady. Scrippy looking around to make the inside move on the inside of Brownie. Nothing going there. Duza trying to go around the outside of BenQ, as we hear from the chat that Tom97 did not load his setup. So we'll see how that affects his race, as I'm sure he's probably not too thrilled about it. But he's keeping with everyone, so it's not too big of an issue now. We got drivers battling everywhere. Florian Knapik is around Scrippy, round the outside going through 11 and now through 12. So Florian on the move right now. Scrippy down to 7th. Duza has dropped to 8th. But up towards the front now, Norbert Jacob leading the way. Zorn and BenQ battling down in 11th. Oh, BenQ is down to 12th now. Bogan down to 11th. Zorn up to 10th. BenQ missing an end plate there as he sends Bogan half spinning there. Bogan does not have damage, but BenQ most certainly does. He is missing his left end plate. Tom97 looking very slow. It's going to leave the door open for Daigoro going through turn 20 now. BenQ all the way towards the back. He's certainly going to box right now. Definitely not a good start to the last race of the season. It says DRS is enabled. That is certainly not true. It is only lap 2. The order, well, ignore the timing sheet right now, as that is definitely way off. It's going to fix itself momentarily. I'm sure of it, as Jacob is currently our race leader. It's only lap 2 of the race. DRS should not be enabled. Let's go ahead and confirm that on the telemetry. It says he's got DRS. That is, that doesn't make no sense. No, guys, that is just the visual of this, folks, thankfully, because we do not want to see drivers getting DRS on lap 2 of the race. Now, Failer trying to make a move on Norbert Jacob. He's really close into the braking zone, but not close enough at this time. Let's go see. Can he get a good run out of 9 through 10? It's not really good enough. He's using all his overtake, though. You can see the green light on his steering wheel as the timing sheet fixes itself out, and Failer's just going to have to tuck in behind the AlphaTauri up ahead. 2 of them got a second clear of Christian Sendel. Let's take a look towards the back of Tom97, who did not load his setup, is definitely falling off the back of the grid, so it's disaster for our championship winner already. But up ahead now, Bogan looking a little slower now in P11. Stuck behind Zorn, who's kind of dropped off from the rest of the field, who's kind of made a little bit of a train. Florian right now still ahead of Scrippy now as everyone's coming out of 19. That's a very beautiful shots we're getting right now. As there you can see Florian rounding through the final quarter. This Failer sets the fastest lap with a 37.1. As DRS is now officially enabled. There it is. There our timing sheet has fully fixed itself now. DRS is enabled and the drivers are ready to go. As BenQ says it's now down in P14th like he actually is. The timing board is fixed and we are all clear to go. Now, can Failer make the move on Jacob now that he has the DRS advantage? Not sure how much ERS he has. Got 38%, so much as Jacob have ahead, they both have used a lot of their battery already. So, using it early on, Jacob was trying to break the DRS early, but now he's going to have to defend from Failer, who's got the DRS open. Will Failer dive it up the inside? No. Failer's going to tuck in behind. Maybe he'll wait for the second straight here. But in the background, Christian Sendel and Kryzik's going side by side. And Kryzik's going to go around the outside in the second part of the chicane. And he'll have P2. He'll say thank you very much. He is up into 3rd position, but back towards the front now. Failer's going around the outside. Norbert Jacob. They're going to go side by side into 11 and 12. And Failer has the race lead. He's up into P1 ahead of Jacob as Florian Knapik in the background picks up a 3-second time penalty. The first one of the race. Jan Failer up to P1, Kryzik's up to P3 after those 2 DRS straights. Plenty of action already here. Brownie has caught back up and everyone is within DRS range with the exception of Kalachu. So he has fallen off the back of a little bit. I don't believe he's got wing damage. I think he's just struggling for pace a little bit. He's got Duza behind and Zoran and Bogan in the background. There's Kalachu goes way off track there. He's really struggling for pace. Not sure if he has a setup issue or something. He might have done something very similar to Tom and not loaded his setup. So interesting to see that happen so far. But Failer out ahead now. He's got the softs. He needs to gap the cars behind. Otherwise, he's going to be pulling along all the medium tire runners who will probably put on the softs later on in the race and make his life miserable in the closing stages. Taking a sip of my nice coffee right now. It's definitely needed to soothe the back of my throat to make it not so raspy. As we're on lap 4 now, back on the back DRS straight. No one's really within close striking distance of another driver. Got Brownie's probably the closest Now he's only 4/10 behind Christian Sendel. His Renault's got a lot of battery power. He's really playing the long game right now. While the drivers ahead were really using the battery. And look at different lines through turn 9 there. You can see Kryzik's missed the sausage curb. Christian Sendel kind of touched it. And then Brownie said, yum, yum, yum. I'm going to eat that sausage curb right up. And that's exactly what he did there. So varying lines we're seeing early on from these drivers on the medium compound tires. But what is commonplace, we are seeing a decent amount of lockups through corners. Not sure if that's just because they're just going too fast or if these guys are struggling on their tires. But Galachuk's certainly struggling, picking up a 3-second time penalty, and he's really fallen off the back of Scrippy. So it does not look like the medium tires were the tire of choice for that Renault. It's working a lot better for his teammate, but so far not so good for the Frenchman in the back. So yeah, make sure, yeah. Okay. Had to double check to make sure I'm not messing up nationalities. But we'll go back towards the front now. Failure on lap 5 leading the way. He's already out of battery. He's got the red light blinking. So he was unable to gap the cars behind. It's going to probably make him a sitting duck if Jacob and Kryzik decide to push. I mean, they probably don't have to use any of their battery to make the move at this point. But Failure did his best to break the DRS, but it is just really powerful around here. I mean, those 2 straights are just huge. So if you can get a good enough run, the rest of the lap to stay in DRS range, you can save battery a decent amount. And we'll make it work now as Failure on lap 5. The softs are probably starting to go now. He's probably not going to be on those softs for too many more laps. Jacob's going to go to the left-hand side of the track and make what I would assume easy work of Failure. Jacob back up into the race lead on the medium tire. So Failure's gamble of starting on the softs and pulling away has not paid off. Excuse me, acid reflux killing me again, but Failure's gamble has not paid off for him. And now Norbert Jacob has retaken the race lead, the Hungarian locking up again, like we've been talking about. Drivers locking up a lot, but Jacob back up front. We got battling in the background. Bogan going side by side with Zoran, down a second DRS rate, and Bogan is now ahead of the Ferrari driver, who was dropped to P11, both of them without penalties. But Zoran losing the rear end, coming out of 14. It's very easy to do that if you get too much of the exit curb or go on the power too quickly trying to avoid that curb. So, and that is the trick of the track, just dealing with that. Let's go back up towards the front. Failure's starting to drop off the back of Jacob. Yes, Failure's into the pits now. He's decided, okay, these soft tires, they're too done for me. I'm going to put on a fresh set of tires. I would assume he's going to two-stop now with how early he's pitting. Should be doing medium to medium. Yes, there are the medium tires from his pit crew. Failure onto the mediums. He needs to make this undercut work. Also, crucially, Kryzik slightly out of DRS range of Norbert Jacob because Failure kind of held him up a little bit. Kryzik does not have DRS. He's purple in Sector 1. He's really using that battery to catch back up. But will he be ahead, or will be in the 1 second mark at the detection point? Let's see. He has DRS, so he just barely caught up enough to the Hungarian ahead. And Kryzik keeping that DRS train alive. Right now, it's a 6-car train, all on the medium compound of tire, all of which will put Failure under pressure when they come to the pits, because Failure probably will be the fastest on track right now. Fresh set of medium tires, but he's got traffic ahead. He's got Daigoro a few seconds up the road, and then Tom a few seconds faster. Both drivers are quick, but Failure being on the fresh compound tire should have the advantage, but they might put up a fight. With these guys on the mediums, will probably go another 5 or 6 laps at least, maybe even 7 if they're trying to one-stop. So I don't think they'll try to go like 18 laps and go softs to the end. I don't think that's the right gamble, but it could be. We'll have to keep an eye on it. So, but we'll keep an eye on the front runners right now. Brownie's still pretty close to Christian Sendel. He's been running about 4 to 5 times this whole time behind the Ferrari driver, but he hasn't really gotten close enough to make the overtake. But that is the dilemma you have with the DRS train. This Brownie's, he's got full battery right now, so he's really just cooking behind Christian. Let's take a look at the battery for the drivers ahead. So P1, Norbert Jacob, 24% ERS, using a lot of it to stay in the front of the train. Kryzik's got a little more, 30% now. Christian Sendel only at 40%, and then Brownie with 94%. So Brownie's sitting very pretty in at P4. He's got all of his battery. He could most certainly make an undercut on these guys ahead, and then just absolutely drain his battery, get ahead of all these guys, and then try to make the undercut work into a podium or maybe even a race win. I mean, you still got to deal with Failure, who now, there's the battery. Brownie's using his battery now. He's using a lot of it. I think he's going to try to make the move on Christian Sendel here. He's really gaining down the back straight. He used much of his battery. Is he going to send it up the inside? Yes, he's going to stick his nose there. Christian Sendel leaves him the space. They're going to go side by side through 9. Sendel's not really going to give him much space on exit. Brownie's going to have to go off the track a little bit. They both have DRS now. Brownie has the battery advantage, but Christian Sendel got a little bit of a better run now. Coming into turn 11, Brownie has the inside line. They're still going to be side by side going to 12. Sendel will back out of it at the last second, and Brownie uses that insane battery back as he had. Oh, his Florian Knapik goes off. He's lost the rear end on the exit of 14. He will lose a few positions and a few seconds there, but he's only down in P7. But he lost the rear end there. He's dropped behind Kalachu and ahead of Duza. But back to Brownie, used that battery that he had saved up, made the move on Christian Sendel. You know, got those elbows out in that fight, and he's up to P3 now. Sendel down to P4 after starting on the front row, so struggling a little bit in the race on this first stint. But we're only on lap 8 right now, so plenty of time to make the move. In the background, Failer has cleared FCT Daigoro. You could argue was a little bit of traffic for him. Daigoro has not stopped yet. It's kind of just looked off the pace today. Failer goes fastest with a 36.9. Lapping much faster than the front group, so he's trying to make that undercut really work and make the what I'd call the main strategy work out for him. As Ben Q picks up a 3-second time penalty, the Haas all the way back in a 14th, not having the best days, but he has pitted. He had to pit to change that front wing early on, so he's certainly not over. The likes of Tom and Daigoro pit. Ben Q might be able to get a couple positions, so we'll have to keep an eye on it. But back up towards the front now. Brownie's using that battery once again. He's trying to close in on Kryzik. He's once again in that like 4/10 of a second range that he had last time with Christian Sendel. So they might make a lap or two longer and to use his battery once again and to pick off another driver and get another position. But because Florian had that half spin, Kalachu's almost back at DRS range of Scrippy, so it seems like he's kind of found his rhythm on the tires now. They finally started working for him. He's got like very little battery left. He's only 1.5 behind. He was like 2.5 seconds behind Scrippy before. But I guess the front running pace has kind of dropped off a little bit, and now Kalachu is starting to reel back in. And behind him is Florian, and then Duza has dropped off a bit. So Kalachu really flying right now. The Frenchman realizing that he knows how to work these tires, and he's making it work for him, using that battery as he's already back in DRS range, basically, at this point. So Kalachu looking mighty quick, as Bogan has cleared Duza, as Duza is the first medium runner to dive into the pits. He's putting on a second set of medium tires. He is going for the undercut on the drivers ahead. He is committing to the two-stop, as he's using the same compound tire as he started on. Look at this, though. Jan Failer, his teammate, he's miles ahead. Now, Duza wasn't really racing Failer before. He was probably like 5 or 6 seconds off. But Failer now has got like 9, maybe 10 seconds on his teammate. So that could spell good news for Failer, who's sliding a little bit at the start of Sector 2. So that could spell good news for him as the race leaders come to the pit. So keep an eye on it now. Speaking of our race leader, it's Norbert Jacob still up in front in that AlphaTauri, the number 24 car. Florian Knapik picking up another time penalty. And Tom cannot get under a 139 in the default setup. Let's take a look at our championship winner. You know, he's got Jan Failer up on his rear. I think Tom's best move now is because he's got that default setup. Is go for a one-stop. He's got really nothing to lose at this point. He's got the championship in the bag. You know, he's just kind of going for it now. He's got the default setup. Could make life hard for Failer, though. You know, it would help out his teammate a little bit. He's kind of falling off the back. We'll have to see what Tom decides to do. He's really struggling. He's got most of his battery left. But having no setup on is certainly going to hurt him. He's running 6 wings or 5-6 wings. And around here, drivers, I mean, I know that the eSport time trial setups are like 4.7, and you could adjust it from there. So similar amount of downforce, but not similar amounts of balance. I mean, you don't have the suspension or the anti-roll bars changed, let alone literally everything else. So Tom's life is probably living hell. See Jan Failer, he's trying to clear him. He knows Tom's going really slow as Tom just lets him by down the front straight. He thinks better of it. He knows he's not in the same race as Failer. Failer back into the top 10, and now Tom's just going to have to try to stick behind the McLaren ahead. But go back up towards the front. Brownie's dropped off a little bit from the driver's ahead, but Kalachu, his teammate, is now on the rear bumper of Scrippy. He's 3/10 behind. not trying to make the overtake. We have a spin in turn sector 1. That is Daigoro. Probably got too much of the curb going through turn number 3, which if you touch that curb too much, it says, no, I'm going to have to send you off. And that's exactly what happened to Daigoro there. Rear tires heated up, and that will definitely help BenQ, who is now in his rear view mirror. So that gives a little bit of a battle towards the back of the grid. But back up towards the front now. We have a 6-car DRS train once again at the front. All these guys on the medium compound of tire. Florian Knapik has fallen off. He's 3 seconds adrift. It seems like his medium tires are now cooked. Bogan another 5 seconds behind Zoran, falling off as well. But Tom is staying in the DRS range of failure as of right now, so he's making it work. But failure has got 9 seconds to Duza. And I think that's the mark we need to look at, because Duza is on that fresh set of medium tires now. Duza's starting to reel in failure a little bit with those slightly fresher tires. So I'll have to see what Duza does this lap as Florian picks up another penalty. Our race leader, Norbert Jacob, is in the pits. Behind him is Kalachu as well. 2 drivers diving into the pits early on now. Let's see where Duza is in retrospect of these guys. Duza's coming out of turn 19 now. Jacob's in the pits right now. So is Kalachu. They're both released from their boxes. So we'll have to see now Duza rounding the final corner. There is Jacob. He's been released. He's got his pit limit off. Duza goes fast at 36.8. Jacob's leaving the pits now. Can he make the undercut on possibly Kalachu? I don't think so. He's going to be right up behind the Frenchman. But before then, Duza was a little farther behind. You know, Kalachu had reeled in the front runners. Jacob, interestingly enough, is on sauce as we got another change for the race lead. Brownie has taken the lead after Kreisig briefly took it there. Brownie taking that line where he eats up the sausage curve, and now he is our current race leader. But he'll probably want to react to Jacob's pit stop, as Jacob is now on the soft compound tire. He's also over 3 seconds behind Failer. So Failer so far making the undercut work, but Jacob on the soft compound tire is going to catch up to the car, as well as first going to catch up to Tom right here. Might even make the overtake before the end of this lap. And then they'll probably reel in a Failer. Kalachu 3.1 behind. He's on another set of mediums. He will have to put on softs at the end of this race. He picked up a 3-second time penalty as well. Duza lost DRS to Kalachu there. We got a battle at the back. BenQ overtaking Daigoro. Not sure if Daigoro is just struggling or not. So some interesting decisions going on. Now let's look at our race leaders. Anyone going to dive into the pits this lap? No. The top 4 all stay out another lap, so some of these guys might be committing to a 1-stop here. And if they do, I mean, this could make things very spicy. Jacob cannot make it to the end of the race on those softs, so he will have to come in and pit again. The softs just do not have the tire wear for it. In theory, Failer could stay out till the end of the race, but, I mean, we're talking about getting close to puncture territory, so he's probably going to want to pit again. And then everyone else who's pitted will want to pit again. Zoran also on the softs as well. He was into the pits this lap. So, some interesting strategy calls so far. Failer starting to reel in the guys up front, but if Brownie can, these guys up front, if they can hold on to their mediums for another, 8 laps, probably put the softs to the maybe even 7 laps, do 9 laps. I wouldn't recommend 10, even though 10 is kind of doable, but your tires will be dead in those last 4 laps. But they could possibly make it work for them, so we have to keep an eye on these front 4. Now, if they go ahead and 1-stop this race, it could definitely flip strategies up on their head. As like we talked about earlier on, there are a lot of race strategies you can do this race. You see a lot of guys on the softs, BenQ and Daigoro, 2 of them giving each other company, all of them on the softs at the back. So, but right now, looking at Brownie leading the race at this time, looking to add another win to his belt. Currently on lap 12 in the 3rd sector, going through 1890. He's looked really quick. He saved a lot of battery in that DRS train, and then he just started attacking. And now he's he made overtakes on Kreisig. He's made an overtake on Christian Sendel, who's flirting out of DRS range. Brownie looking like he's picking up a warning there as Christian picks up a 3-second time penalty. Brownie's not able to break the DRS range as that front 4 stays out yet again. So, interesting to see. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 2. Florian Knapik has retired out of the final corner. He was completely into the wall, lost part of his front. He lost half of his front wing. Looks like a front tire as well. A virtual safety car has been released. Tom is into the pits, taking full advantage of this VSC given by his teammates. So not what his Alfa Romeo teammate wanted, but this will certainly feed into the front runners, staying out a little bit longer, maybe doing a 1-stop, maybe doing a medium soft maybe.
You know, I don't think you're going to put on hards, you know, halfway through the race. These guys, with how long they've stayed out, they're certainly going for the one stop, waiting for the soft tires, waiting for that window. So the question is now, can everyone stay under the delta? You know, it is a VSC. You got to be careful. But look at this crucially, all right? Let's look at the gaps. So from, as we got a drive through for Tom, he was literally leaving the pit, so that doesn't really make any sense to me. But that is not what Tom wanted to happen. He's going to have to serve that. His day has just gone from bad to worse. Ben Q speeds into the pits. Not sure why he's returned to the pits. He might be retiring. Not sure what the Haas driver is doing at this time. But anyways, back to the deltas right now. Failure is 14 seconds off of Brownie. It's 11 seconds off of fourth place Scrippy in this group. So these guys, all they have to do is just hang on, you know. Because 11 seconds is a tall order to close up. And Failure's going to have to pit again. Those meters, I don't think will make it to the end of the race. I mean, he could try. And he might have to try. But this front four, they're lapping really, really good right now. And I think they're all going to one-stop. And they got such a nice margin on Failure, on Jacob. I mean, Bogan as well is one-stopping by the looks of it. And he's got Failure for company, you know. So Bogan's, you know, he realizes he's going to have to race the two guys behind. Since they have already pitted and they will have to pit again. But there's such a big gap from the guys who've pitted to the guys who've stayed out, and the guys who've stayed out are lapping mighty quickly. So they're just doing enough what they need, you know, because Failure, and then we saw him do a 36 high. You know, he's probably been lapping low 37 since then. It's Failure trying to go up the inside into turn number 5. You know, he's going to have the move done, and no, he's actually going to lose position to Norbert Jacob. You know, backed out a little bit, made the mistake, and now Jacob up to P6, Failure down to P7. That has really spoiled his day, as he was looking to make that undercut work and start on the softs, go to the mediums twice. But now Jacob has taken what would be the race lead if the guys up front pitted, but they haven't. So now it's a very interesting thing we're seeing going on. Another thing up towards the front, Christian, Sendel, and Scrippy have lost DRS from Kreisler and Brownie. So it's really becoming a two-horse race now with the guys who have stayed out, decided not to pit, and the one-stop strategy is looking like it's king right now. You know, going from the medium to soft, fresh set of medium tires, really working for these guys, as Thomas decided to retire from the session. I think he lost the rear end or something going into turn 8. Both Alfa Romeos have retired, even though they have won the Constructors, so unfortunate to see them have their last race finish like that. But nevertheless, that does open the door for Dagor and BenQ to possibly steal points, even though they are farther back, so I'll have to wait and see. But still, we're still looking at this strategy call from the front runners right now. Brownie and Kreisler staying out, starting on the mediums, and going for the one stop, probably for the soft tires. They'll probably pit, you know, the next 3 to 5 laps. That's what I guess is the pit window. You know, we're just guessing at this point, because I did mention the soft medium strategy could work beforehand, but this is some interesting stuff to see. You know, it's a lot to take in, since I expected to see two stoppers like the likes of Norbert Jacob, Jan Failure, Kalachu do on them, and they've done so, and they've done a good job with it. They're lapping very quickly, but the guys up front, you know, they're just lapping just that well enough. Let's look at the lap times of Brownie. All right, so Brownie's been doing 37s into 38s, and he's just been holding it. Those tires have not gone on him at all. I mean, he had those slow laps last 2 laps because of the VSC, but you know, it's been doing 38s, which is just absolutely fantastic. You know, and the fact he's keeping his tires alive. You know, he's still got 33% battery. It's looking like this is Brownie and Kreisler's race. Both of them do not have penalties. So if the two of them can save their batteries, Brownie's got a little bit more than Kreisler's, so he's got enough to defend. You know, these guys, you know, it's looked like they've pulled a masterclass with their setups. You know, because that's what I got to give it to. They give it to their setups and their just driving ability, because they're keeping those tires, which usually will die around this track, keeping the tires alive for long enough that they're able to make this work. Now, Norbert Jacob is coming. He's 8 seconds behind a Scrippy. But Scrippy and Christian Sendel have lost track from these two. So I would not say that a podium is off the cards for Jacob. You know, he's going to have to he can put on a fresh set of softs. You know, go till the end after this. As we are on lap 16 now. He'll have to pit again, so you probably will want another pair of softs so he doesn't lose contact with the guys ahead. Failure's into the pits right now, putting on what I presume to be a second set of mediums. You know, 12 laps to go. I don't think the softs will work. Yes, it's another set of mediums. So Failure going for an undercut again. He has decided that he's just going to have to hope that he's got enough pace now and he can close up enough before the front four decide to pit. But this strategy call has been magnificent so far for the front guys. Jacob now 6 seconds behind, so he's coming. He's coming really quickly. He's trying to close up using all of his battery. You know, he's trying to get close enough within striking distance. Speaking of striking distance, Scrippy going up the inside into turn 8 of Christian Sendel, and the Mercedes has the position on the Ferrari, and he will not have DRS down this next straight, as he is not a double DRS straight. So Christian might have a chance to come back at him, but Scrippy's using all of his battery, pulling away just enough. Christian saving his battery for now and staying in P4. So Scrippy up to P3, Christian Sendel down to P4. And now Norbert Jacob 5.8 behind these two as they battle it out. He's battling, helping the AlphaTauri behind, but you know, the pit window opening soon for these guys, so they just got to hang on for a few more laps, and they should be able to keep the Hungarian behind. So up towards front, Kryzik starting to close in a little bit on Brownie, but you know, 5, 6 tenth gap. He's going to have to close up to about 4 times, which is what we saw Brownie do before. Brownie diving into the pits. Kryzik's reacting to Brownie's dive into the pits. The two of them, I would assume they're going to have to put on softs. I don't think he put on hards at this point. The front four all diving into the pits, so those mediums must be gone at this point. Even though these guys were lapping very quickly, the front four all into the pits now. Going to have to make those softs last 12 laps. Duza gets a time penalty for speeding into the pit lane. So these guys all into the pits. Norbert Jacob will take the lead. If he can keep those softs for another 2 or 3 laps and then put on another pair, he should have the advantage in the closing stages. Now the guys behind, you know, who just pitted, they will all be very quick in the next few laps, and we'll gap him a little bit. But if Jacob can just put on another pair of softs, he should be fine. Now, interesting, Failer behind Zoran. Now Zoran's on older softs. Zoran is 4 seconds behind his teammate of Christian Sendel, so Failer's gonna have to clear this guy real quick. You know, but he's trying to catch up to 4 guys on fresh softs, which is just a very hard thing to ask. But if his teammate Duza, who's only 1.8 ahead of Brownie, can hold up those front runners, he's going to have to battle it out. Because Duza, you know, he probably will want to pit again, but seeing how these guys one stopped up ahead, he probably might be thinking in his head, all right, I'm just going to have to just hold on now because, you know, pitting again will most certainly drop me down the order. It'll make you feel good, you'll make your pace feel good, but it won't make your position feel good, as Failure does clear Zoran now in the background. So Duza has an opportunity to help out his teammate here. We'll have to see if there's any kind of inter-team communication. But Brownie already closing up a half second there through the middle sector alone, you know, in that Renault, a fresh set of softs. They have to be flying right now. But again, at the end of the race, those softs will be gone. So as Bogan picks up a 3-second time penalty, he's also on fresh softs. He's down in P10. The Polishman has not had the best day, as he is definitely not as quick today as he has been in previous races. But now, let's take a look at the battle for 3rd place right now. Duza's got Brownie in his rearview mirror. Brownie gaining as Christian Sendel picks up another time penalty. Brownie going purple in the final sector. Will Brownie go for the move into turn 1? Yeah, he's got to stick it up the inside. Make a little bit of contact there, push Duza wide, and Brownie is through and up to P3. Has cleared what you could argue is traffic, even though that was a race 4 position. And that puts a car between Brownie and Kryzik, and that is Brownie's main rival this time. Kryzik has to clear Duza now, otherwise he will lose DRS on Brownie, and losing DRS will be catastrophic to his race and will certainly gift Brownie the victory. Now Kryzik's down the back straight. He doesn't have too much battery to work with. He's all up on the rear diffuser of Duza. Swing to the left-hand side of the track, side by side, going into turn number 8. Kryzik's going to be able to break that much later because he has the tires for it, and Kryzik's up to P4, stays within DRS range of Brownie, just barely. And Kryzik's will be able to continue hanging on to Brownie and potentially make a last-minute charge in the race. So as these guys battle it out now, that should give a little bit of wiggle room for Kalachu ahead. Kalachu has a 6.7 second gap to his teammate, but he does have 6 seconds of penalties, so penalties will hurt him. But if Kalachu can hang on till the end of the race, you know, he's going to have to make those tires last another 10 laps, you know. He might be able to work some magic. But by the time Brownie probably catches him, Brownie's tires will probably be at a similar state as those mediums, and they'll just be falling off. So we'll have to wait and see if the Renaults have any inter-team communication. But for now, it's looking like Brownie is the man to beat. Scrippy is going to overtake Duza. Duza dives into the pits. I don't think he thinks he can make those tires last. Kryzik goes purple with a 135.8. So that's the kind of lap times that if you want to pit now, you need to be matching that or going faster if you want to have a chance. See on the top 4 is Bogan That's a 135.8 on those fresh softs. So he's showing some pace now, but a little too late, as he was just too far back from that front four that really made that strategy work. Failure now 5.7 seconds behind Christian Sendel, Christian Sendel has actually lost DRS from Scrippy. So after Scrippy made that nice overtake on him, he's kind of just dropped the Ferrari driver. It does not look like Christian Sendel at this time will get that first race victory, let alone podium of the season that he's been looking for. So unfortunate to see, but right now he's running in what would be a net P4 if Kalachu and Jacob come into the pits. Jacob will certainly have to pit. Those softs will not last till the end of the race. Kalachu could make it work, but it's going to be a tall order. So, and he has that 6-second time penalty, which will hurt him. As in regards to penalties, Christian Sendel has 9 seconds, so he does not get any advantage from Kalachu. Scrippy is 3 seconds time penalty, so that will hurt him in comparison to the drivers ahead. But it should save him from failure from the time being. Brownie and Kalachu do not know each other. Straight for real last week. So they do not know each other. All right, so that's unfortunate. So we will see some hard racing now as Jacob is into the pits. And now, oh, wait, is he into the pits? Yes, he is in the pits. It did not say pit for me. That was a little weird. But Jacob into the pits now for, I would assume, to be a fresh set of soft tires. Now he's going to go to the end of the race on that. He's going to have to put on an absolute clinic if he wants to steal this race win. But Brownie sitting in a very good spot right now. He's within 6 seconds. Kalachu just needs to keep it clean. He will take the win from his teammate. He's not really gaining, so it looks like he's kind of saving tires. So is Kalachu. Right now, Kalachu would actually have Kryzik's beat based off of the penalty situation. So I'll have to keep an eye on that. Jacob now is right behind Failure. That's where he's going to come out on the fresh softs. He'll make it to the end of the race, and he'll be mighty quick, but he's going to pick up a 3-second time penalty in the first sector. The Hungarian probably giving up his chance of stealing a podium right there, as he's going to have to close up 9 seconds on guys on still somewhat fresh softs. So the Hungarian who started on pole, Failure started P3, and Christian Sendel started P2. All 3 drivers started in the top 3. Right now, not sitting in positions to get a podium. So some very chaotic running now as Jacob is going to swing to the right-hand side of the track on the back DRS straight, and will have the move done on Jan Failure going into turn 11. He leaves the space for the German, but Failure thinks better of it, backs out, and is down to 7. Jacob up to P6. Bogan, and meanwhile, has overtaken Zoran in a similar manner and is up to P8. So on those softs, he is also flying, but he's 3.2 off of Failure, so he's going to have to catch up a little bit more if he wants to nab another position. But he's also got to hope that Failure picks up a time penalty. Kalachu, our race leader, is into the pits, so he will not try to make those mediums last till the end. He doesn't like his long performance on that. And now he is also game on as well. Where will he come out in retrospect to likes of Failure and Jacob? Jacob's going to pass him now. Kalachu's going to floor it, leaving the pits. It's looking like, yeah, it's looking like he's going to come out near Bogan, actually. So him and Bogan are going to have a nice little battle here. He's going to come out just ahead of Bogan, use his battery to keep it that way. Not too far off of Failure, so Failure could be under pressure from cars behind, even though they all have penalties. So Failure's probably got to be pretty happy about that. Daigoro spins round, completely missing his end place, and we got a full-blown safety car, folks. So Daigoro completely lost his front wing going into turn 17, completely went round, and is given a full safety car, and that absolutely ruins the strategy of Brownie and Kryzik, who looked like this was their race to lose. They had the sauce, they had the strategy nailed, and they had the gap to the cars behind. But the whole race has been turned on its head now, as the whole field will clutter back up. Question is, now Norbert Jacob and Kalachu. Kalachu probably kicking himself after just pitting there, but he's on a fresh set of softs, so he doesn't need a pit again. Jacob is good, doesn't need a pit again. Failure, and none of these guys really need a pit again. But the question is, do they want a pit? Because, yeah, the softs will make it to the end of the race, but you got guys like Jacob now, Jacob and Kalachu, they're on fresh softs, they'll have full battery. They'll be able to push more than several lap old softs, because now Jacob and Kalachu can literally just save those tires. Zoran, BenQ, and Daigoro all able to save the tires as well. Now, will they down the pits? Brownie throws a dummy. Kryzik does not fall for it. Will Scrippy or Christian go into the pits? No. So all the front runners stay out. Will Failure come into the pits, though, for a fresh set of softs? Yes, Failure's into the pits. He realizes that as a medium runner, he does not stand a chance to the softs. Ooh, almost breaking his front wing there on entry, so That was a little scary. Bogan also into the pits. He doesn't really have much to lose. The only guy who's really going to pass him is Duza. So he's a little just dropped to P9. Not losing much, but instead he gets a nice pair of soft rubber. So Duza should gain 2 positions, or Duza into the pits actually. Duza's into the pits as well. He's in for a fresh set of softs. I guess he's decided, you know, why not? You know, the only position he'll lose is to Zorn. Zorn's on a fresh set of softs. He's being slowed up by the safety car. I think Zorn might actually clear Duza. Yeah, Zorn will clear Duza actually. So Duza loses a position to Zorn there, but he's got fresh softs, so he can't really complain that much. The front 4 all stayed out. They're all on old rubber, 4-lap old softs, but this will help them a lot. They'll be able to keep these tires, you know, keep them in working condition for the next few laps. But now on lap 22, safety car came out on lap 21, so I would assume the safety car will be in not this lap, but next lap. At the end of lap 23, so we should have about 5 laps of racing to go after this. So a lot of stuff can happen, you know. I don't know, you know, what to say about it. Yeah, it's been a really good race so far, and now for our last race of the season, we get a nice sprint to the finish here at Yas Marina Circuit. So I'm sure no one really expected this, but like I mentioned earlier on in qualifying, you know, if we get a safety car completely shaft strategies, and even though Brownie and Kryzik, Skrippy, and Christian Sendel all had master classes of strategy by doing the one stop, it's completely shafted now that there's a safety car, and they're sitting there on old softs. They cannot pit at this point, otherwise they'll go to the back of the queue, and that's not worth your time. So we'll have to see how these last few laps go, and can they hold up the guys behind. I do think Norbert Jacob should be able to clear Christian Sendel based off of quality pace and the fact that he's got those fresher tires. Skrippy looking like he's throwing a dummy into the pits, not sure why. He might fall into pressure to the Hungarian and the Frenchman behind as well. Now, Kryzik and Brownie's really shown some really good battery conservation this race, but we haven't really seen him outside of using the battery outside of overtaking measures. So not sure what kind of, you know, overall pace they got. I mean, we saw where they started on the grid, but I'll have to wait and see. It's going to be a very exciting last 5 laps, maybe even 4 if the front runners get lucky. If they're lucky, they get another safety car lap, you know, because that just helps their case out, gives them 1 less lap to have to deal with the charging cars behind. Since DRS will be enabled, I believe, on the 3rd lap, so it'll be 3 laps of DRS. It's basically just a 5-lap sprint race at this point, except the guys up front are running on worn tires, so while everyone else behind, you know, they're just doing a 5-lap race. So this is exciting scenes, folks. Very exciting scenes under the safety car. I think the only thing that would make this race crazier is if there was rain, but, you know, it's not something you normally see at Abu Dhabi. So Stagoro's in the pits. I guess he wanted another set of softs. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure he would have caught up to the grid, and now he might struggle to do that. I mean, he's half a lap behind at this point. So maybe even more so if you look at it. So he's really going to have to be, the safety car's really going to have to let him go if he wants to have a chance of catching up. BenQ should be able to catch up there. Not sure why I didn't switch to him immediately there, but BenQ should catch up to the queue. Now we're in the 3rd sector. Will the safety car be in this lap? That's the big question. Do we get a 5-lap sprint or a 4-lap sprint? So we'll just have to wait and see if we get that notification. It's not looking like that at the moment, but I don't know where the marker is on the track for the safety car to come in. We're going to hang tight. This helps out Daigoro. He's going to catch up to the grid now. Yes, the safety car, there's no way it is in this lap. Just considering where we're at on the track. So now, we're going to have another lap of safety car conditions by the looks of it. And it'll be a 4-lap sprint to the end, which will certainly help out Brownie and Kryzik. I mean, Skrippy and Christian, you know, they're kind of still a little toast because those older tires won't help them, but, you know, we'll have to wait and see. Now, I'm curious to see why they didn't pit, because, you know, they probably should have assumed. I mean, Norbert Jacob obviously did not need a pit. Neither did Kalachu, but Kalachu had just pitted, so they probably would have come out ahead of them. And what's interesting is that you knew, like, Failure was going to pit, and other guys were going to pit, and they had the gap. So why they didn't just decide, all right, just put on the fresh softs and, you know, leave the pressure to the guys up front is beyond me. But then again, you know, they're still on soft, so 6 laps old. They're not too bad. And, you know, they're saving a lot of wear under safety car, and they're going to have to get heat in those tires back. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the strategy call is there, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, we're going to have 4 full laps of green flag racing. The whole field has been rebundled up. Showed a little quick position change there, which is not accurate. If we look at the penalty situation, Scrippy has 3 seconds. Christian has 9. So Christian, no matter what he does, is basically going to lose out to a lot of drivers, except for Duza. Daigoro all the way in 12th. Does not have a penalty. He's one of 4 drivers that doesn't. The first 2 being the top 2. So no matter what Norbert Jacob does, unless Failer is the only one who can really challenge with a race victory, unless the first 2 crash out because of the penalty situations or they get penalties. So the first 2, all they have to do is keep it clean, and there's 1-2, depending on how they finish. Failer will get some positions, might even get a podium here because of this. Safety car's in this lap now. Daigoro just needs to stick with the field, and he's guaranteed a handful of positions because Kalachu's got 6 seconds. Christian Sendel's got 9, so he could theoretically jump 4 or 5 cars because of penalties if he keeps it clean. So that would be one of Daigoro's best races of the season. But now, as the drivers are finishing their last lap, there's the position change since the start. Brownie up 4, Crysis up 2, Scrippy up 5. Safety car is in now. Everyone on the soft tires, you know, the older tires, runners up towards the front. Everyone else, you know, on relatively new tires. We'll keep an eye on the penalty situation. Yes, I will hydrate real fast. Thank you. Don't forget to hydrate, as Verstappen says. So here we go now. We'll wait for Brownie to floor it. And there he goes. Brownie is moving. And we are back underway. It is green flag conditions about now. Yep, he's crossed the line. It's green flag. Everyone is allowed to overtake. And now Brownie, with 4 laps to go, leads the way. Let's take a look critically at the battle in the background. Norbert Jacob making the move up the inside of Christian Sendel into turn 1. Jacob already overtaking the Ferrari. He realizes he needs to get a move on if he wants to even get close to it. Daigoro picks up a costly 3-second time penalty. So just when I was talking about him getting some freebies, you know, he loses it all due to that penalty. So now there's only 3 drivers without a penalty. The first 2 being Brownie and Crysis. Crysis not close enough right now to make the move. No one really close enough to make moves. Kalachu, though, on the rear end of Christian Sendel. Will he try to overtake the driver on the older softs? No. Christian Sendel locks up, goes very deep. You can see that Sendel's looking vulnerable. And now Kalachu gets a much better drive out of turn 9 and through turn 10. You can see Norbert Jacob also making a run on Scrippy. Kalachu's going to go to the right-hand side. So is Jacob. Both groups are going side by side. It looks like Jacob's going to go side by side through the middle chicane. Kalachu's ahead of Christian Sendel. And Scrippy's kind of muscling his way with Norbert Jacob. Scrippy is going to keep the position. He's going to pick up a penalty, though, as Scrippy holds on to P3. Does not yield to Jacob. Kalachu's through on Christian Sendel now. We got 3 laps in a sector to go. These guys have lost ERS to Crysis in them. So Scrippy getting a costly time penalty for battling really hard with Jacob, who's used all of his ERS for this lap, trying to make those overtakes work. He's still got about 50% in the tank. Kalachu now looking at Jacob's rear end, thinking it's very juicy right now. But going into turn 1, they hold still. Kalachu now getting a really good run through turn 1 and now through turn 2. He's using his battery, but so is Jacob, the 2 of them. Now looking very quick on this opening lap. But they need a clear Scrippy as Failer makes a move on Christian Sendel. Christian Sendel just dropping down the order. His softs are done. Bogan diving up the inside into the hairpin. Bogan looking like he's going to have better traction on exit compared to Christian Sendel. Bogan up to P7. Christian Sendel down to P8. And with those 9 seconds of time penalties, it's just tears. He just has to stay ahead of Duza at this point. Back up towards the front. Norbert Jacob once again. We're going to go 3 wide on the back straight fault. Jacob on the inside. Now on the inside is Scrippy. The 2 of them muscling it out. Scrippy way off the track. Now he's going to have to come back on very carefully. Norbert Jacob trying to get the position. We're going to once again go 3 wide down the back straight. Who's going to have the position going into turn 11? Scrippy's got the inside, Jacob's in the middle, and Jacob breaks the latest. He has P3 finally. Scrippy throwing the elbows. Jan Failer up on the inside of Kalachu now, who was trying to make the move, and Failer is round. Failer's way down the order. He didn't have a time penalty. Bogan is facing the long way as well. And that is just tears for the German and the Polish drivers as they drop way down the order. Jacob has been released to Kryzix and Brownie. Scrippy got his elbows out a lot there. He's still holding on to the P4. Not sure what the other drivers think around him. He's being very feisty right now. Jacob's up to P3. Kalachu's still stuck in P5. Up at the front, though, with 2 laps to go. Brownie has gapped Kryzix by almost a second, but Kryzix will get DRS. He'll have an overtaking chance on this lap and the next, otherwise it'll be race over. But let's look at Kalachu now. He doesn't have any more ERS now. He's going to want to clear Scrippy, who's been very feisty right now. Has been a little argy-bargy. Kalachu, will he get the elbows out now? He's going to have DRS. Scrippy will not, because Jacob has cleared him. Failer picks up a 3-second time penalty. He's got to be fuming. Now Kalachu gets such a better run out of the hairpin, and Kalachu, with the DRS advantage, makes the overtake on Scrippy finally. The Mercedes driver trying to get back in tow, but he does not have an answer to the Frenchman ahead. Speaking of the Renault, though, his teammate Brownie 5/10 ahead of Kryzix. This is the battle for the race leads. BenQ gets another position on Zoran. BenQ's going to get positions off of Duza, Christian Sendel, Scrippy, and possibly Kalachi by the end of this race, seeing how he has less penalties than them. But let's look at the battle for the front now. This is kind of what matters. Scrippy picking up another time penalty will just drop him down even more. You know, his tires are gone. But the 2 up front right now, Kryzix and Brownie, coming to the final lap right now as they're going through the 3rd sector. Kryzix, he was 9/10 behind Brownie at the beginning of the lap, is now only 4/10 behind thanks to DRS. So we start this final lap, the last 21 corners of this season in Apex Online Racing. So we'll have to see now, can Kryzix steal the race win off of Brownie? Hopefully we'll see the move a little bit cleaner than what we saw from the other drivers in the back when they were going 3 wide. But now Brownie gets a really good sector 1. He's got over 5/10 clear to Kryzix. Both drivers going to be using all their battery this lap. Not sure how much Brownie has. Brownie's got 33%. He's also got the red fuel warning. Kryzix has a little bit more fuel to work with, though, now. A 5/10 gap. I think Kryzix, his best chance is going to be in the turn 11 at this point. He's going to need to close up here, get on the rear end of Brownie, so that way he can make the move into turn 11, but he's not really gaining. He's got the DRS, but he's not really gaining. And Brownie is still 5/10 clear. Now it's 4/10 into the braking zone. Kalachu makes the move on Norbert Jacob, but Jacob's going to go feisty up the inside, and Kalachu is through. Now, couldn't Kryzix close up enough? He's losing time to Brownie. It doesn't look like Kryzix has the pace to catch up now. There he goes. He's deploying his overtake. He's going to go to the right-hand side. Brownie goes defensive. Kryzix going around the outside. He's going to stay on the inside. Oh, and Kryzix is off the track, gets forced off by Brownie. Kryzix is up ahead. But that was really not. He's going to break a late. I think he realizes that Brownie should have the position. He's going to yield it back. And it looks like this is Brownie's race to lose. Just needs to keep it clean. Kryzix did the best he could there. But Brownie will retake the lead there after Kryzix yielded after going off track to take the lead. And Brownie now, he's got 2 corners to go. Just needs to keep it on track. No penalties. And Brownie will win the final race now out of the final corner. And Brownie F1 wins the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Kryzix will get P2, Norbert Jacob P3, Kalachu P4, Christian Sendel P5, Scrippy way down the order. BenQ jumps all the way up into P5, the Haas driver with a fantastic result. Daigoro, who picked up that late time penalty, all the way up to P6. So if Daigoro doesn't pick that late penalty up, he will go up even higher. But P6, he's got to be mighty happy about that. But Brownie is your race winner. The game gives Kalachu the driver of the day, but I think the driver of the day has to be Brownie, considering he pulled the masterclass of the strategy, some very strong overtakes. And Brownie is your race winner here in our final race for Apex Online Racing Hype Energy F1 Season 20. Tier 1 Racing. And there you have it, folks. As some of the drivers leave after DNFing early on. Let's go ahead and take a look at our final standings. You know, it's going to get this thing organized out. Brownie is our race winner in the Renault with no penalties. starting 5th on the grid. Kryzik's coming so close to sealing the race win there. We'll finish P2. Norbert Jacob, after starting on pole, pulls the 2-stop. We'll finish P3. Kalachi P4. Benki P5. Dagora P6 after starting 13th. That's another fantastic job for the AlphaTauri driver with 3 pit stops. Doran P7, Skrippy P8, Christian Sendel P9, and Bogan P10. So Benki Dagora, who were way off the back end at one point, it wasn't looking confident for them to really get any points. Got saved by the safety car and finished 5th and 6th. That's crazy. So we're going to take a look at the race director now for anyone's purpose. But yeah, there was definitely not the cleanest of racing at the end there. That's to say the least. I mean, cars were getting a little argy-bargy. But that's just how it really, just how the way, the cookie crumbled now. I'm going to back out of the game. We're going to get ourselves positioned for any kind of interviews that we have post-race, as that was a very spicy end of the race. So that was an interesting one, to say the least. We don't got anyone ready for an interview at this time, so we'll hang around. But that was a very clean race. So let's make sure it's known. All right, it looks like we got Norbert Jacob here. He's looking like he wants to talk about his drive. We did see how he had a. It looks like the strategy call at the end there didn't look like it was right, because that one stop was just muddy. But let's go ahead and get his thoughts. Let's bring him on in here now, and let's see what he has to say after getting that podium. Hello there. How are you feeling after that very chaotic end to a race around Abu Dhabi?
Hello, good evening. Well, it was awesome as always. Yeah, it was like hell in the final few laps. But at least I could secure P3 for myself.
Yeah, you had a very good end of the race there. Some very nice overtakes there, and you kept it clean. Yeah, it looks like the 2-stop wasn't the move, surprisingly. What was going through your head when you realized that those guys were going to 1-stop?
In practice, I thought 2 stops will be the better strategy, but I didn't think about what if it will be a fresh tire at the start.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, the one strategy was faster. And when I made my first stop into the softs, I realized that yeah, I was on a bad strategy. So I tried to recover as much position as possible. I got held in my first few laps. I had to battle for positions, which was not ideal for my strategy.
Yeah.
But yeah, at around lap 18 or 19, I thought about if the softs could go to the end, but it was like 30-35%. And I saw Brownie close the gap like 5 or 6 tenths lap, and that was way too much. And I think at lap 20, 19, I don't know, and when I saw that safety car at lap 21, that was well, that wasn't a good feeling, because if I stay out for 2 more laps, then I think I could fight for the win. And I also scored my final warning to a penalty after my second stop. But yeah, after the safety car, I had to fight really hard against Skrippy and Kalacho. I don't know who was in the Renault.
Yeah, that was Kalachu, yes.
Well, that was pretty hard. I think it was fair. It was in the border of fair racing, but yeah, no wings damage, I think. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it was definitely some really argy-bargy racing at the end there, to say the least. I mean, it was pretty chaotic. I mean, you guys were 3 wide at one point, and you came out on the top. So, I mean, the fact you're able to pull a podium out of after that, because that was basically a 5-lap sprint race at the end there. So a little chaotic. But let's change the tone a little bit. So now this was the last race of the season, unfortunately. You know, that's never what you want to see. So I guess the next question to ask would be, what was your favorite race this season? I would ask. I mean, maybe not maybe not with your finishing result, but like which race kind of stands out to you the most if you want to jog your memory banks.
Maybe it was my home GP in the Hungaroring because I scored my first podium there in the season. And yeah, this was also a really good race. It was the most exciting race of the season for me. But the one that I want to remember forever was the Hungarian GP this season.
That's good. Yeah, this season's definitely been a little up and downer, but you definitely gave us a lot of fantastic racing, especially there at the end. You know, once again, I'm losing my voice, you know, commentating you guys because it's insanely fun and action-packed. So thank you for everything this season, and we do look forward to seeing you back next season once we get started up. So
Thank you. Goodbye.
you're welcome. Have a wonderful night.
You too.
All right, so that was Norbert Jacob. He was in the AlphaTauri, scored a very nice P3 today. Next up, we're going to bring in Jan Feitler. He is the next driver that was put himself in queue. He had an unfortunate end result there, so we'll kind of see, maybe talk him through what happened there at the end, figure out what happened from his POV, and then we'll go from there. So let's bring him on in here. Hello, how you feeling after that very chaotic end to a race there?
Hey, sorry, I think I didn't catch what you said in the beginning.
How do you feel after that very chaotic end to a race there? I mean, we saw you went rounds. Of course, that's got you frustrated, I would presume. But you want to kind of talk us through what happened since we didn't really get to see that on camera?
Yeah, sure. So Norbert, Scrippy, and Kilacho were battling 3-way into what was, I don't know what corner, after the second DRS straight.
Yeah.
And then Norbert got ahead, and Scrippy and Kilacho went there side by side, and then were wheel banging a bit, and I held myself back, and then like made a switcheroo, as Crofty would say, like 3 times, to get back the better acceleration, and then into that left-hander after this combination of corners. Yeah, I went side by side with Kilacho, and we touched. I looked at the footage again. I don't know. I mean, I couldn't have taken the corner any more tight, and he might have had a bit more space on the right, but in the end, I guess it's a racing incident, kinda. And it's just unlucky that my car turned around there, and yeah, that obviously ended my race.
Yeah, it was very heartbreaking to see because you were one of the guys who was primed to get a bunch of positions at the end there because you didn't have any penalties. Other than that, though, your race was going pretty good. But like it looked like the strategy call, like I mentioned with Norbert, is that it was a little funky. What was going through your head when you realized those guys up front were doing the one stop? Did that like kind of put you on edge or something, or what was going through your head?
Not really. I was actually thinking they mostly do 2 stops, and I was very surprised that Norbert managed to, or was supposedly managed to go 2 stints on softs, because I mean, I guess it's possible when you start on mediums. If you start on softs, they are absolutely terrible after like 4 or 5 laps.
Yeah.
But I thought I just need to get in front in the beginning, and then the undercut is obviously huge on this track, so I thought soft, medium was a good strat. Turned out not to be the best, I guess. In the end, obviously, the safety car screwed it all over a bit. But also with the penalties, I realized that I was one of very few drivers who didn't have penalties. Unfortunately, I don't know if it was at the start of the second of the safety car, or when it was the game, the on-screen display malfunctioned basically on my screen. So I didn't have any indication when the safety car comes in. Luckily, Jeff tells you that, but I also didn't get any warnings. So I was on 1 warning, then I got a second warning after the restart, and I didn't even notice. And all of a sudden, in the third warning, Jeff goes, "Yeah, you have a penalty." I mean, until then I was turned around already, so it didn't matter in the end anyway. So, but that's also quite frustrating.
I mean, I know.
You never know.
I'm sorry to cut you off there, but I know from when I was doing like driving around for fun, I noticed that there are some corners around the track where it doesn't seem like it gives you like an instant 3-second time penalty rather than warning. So maybe I got the race director, of course, and I'm sure you have it. So maybe you'll be able to get that removed because you were at one point I was looking at it because it was you, Kruzix, and Brownie, the three of you, the only guys without penalties. Everyone else around you had them, and I was just like, all right, you guys definitely, you're all gonna shoot up. Well, the other two were at the front, but you were definitely primed to shoot up there. So very, very good drive for you today, that's for sure. In retrospect.
Yeah, thanks.
So I guess
I was,
no, you go. You keep going. I'll keep cutting you off. I'm sorry.
okay. That's fine. I was quite annoyed at the restart as well because Crysis and Brownie, my stream told me that they were the only ones without penalties in front of me, and they were leading the pack. So I hoped that the guys behind would start fighting them.
Yeah.
But then they started fighting each other, and these two just ran away with it. So I already thought, okay, P1 and 2 is probably settled then, and all I can do is P3. But yeah, obviously that didn't turn out to be the case. But yeah, I think until the safety car without penalties, I think that's good around the track. And yes, you said I should be quite happy with my drive until the safety car. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, you had a really good drive. I mean, you looked very quick throughout the race. I mean, your undercut was massive. You came out like or when I think it was Norbert pitted, you were like 5 seconds clear of him. Like that was a really, you had the strategy right there, and it was working for you. But I guess let's I guess jog our memory banks for a second here and let's take a blast of the past. With this being the last race of the season, if you're thinking back, what was your most memorable race of the season? Would you say?
Definitely last week.
Definitely last week. Yeah, that was a really good one.
Yeah, the previous 2 wins I had this season were actually due to time penalties for other drivers in front of me. So yeah, last week was the first race I won in AOR on track. And yeah, that's obviously quite memorable for me. But yeah, apart from that, I think we had a few good races. But despite the grid most of the time actually being like 12 to 14 drivers, I think we did good with introducing the rule where we restart the session as we did today. Otherwise, I mean, we have done a few races before that with 12 drivers and stuff, and you see the counter strategy is kind of OP then, and you don't really have a good qualifying because everyone just does one lap on mediums.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we did well with that rule. And also, I want to say to all the drivers that were here from the start of the season and stick to the league until the end of the season, even through these very, very tough and difficult times, I want to say a big thank you. Usually, of course, it's kind of normal and expected to do the entire season, but under these circumstances, I think it's worth mentioning then that big thank you for them, and I hope that they stick around for next season because obviously that's going to be a different story than this one. We're working on that as coordinators, and yeah, it can only get better now.
Yeah, I do hope it gets better too because today showed that we got plenty of racing from the drivers, but it's always better to have even more people join in on the fun. Yeah, but yeah, you had a great season. It was a great race today. I mean, in retrospect, so. Hopefully, keep your head held high, and we look forward to seeing you, maybe in a month's time, give or take, back on track. So
yeah.
So you take care, and you have a wonderful night. It was a pleasure as always to watch over your race and commentate. So thank you for having me, and best of luck in the coming weeks while you get ready for the new season.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for doing the commentary.
Of course. Have a good night, and we'll talk to you later.
Yeah, stay safe. Thanks.
Thank you. You too. All right, so last but not least, we'll bring in Crysis. He's the last guy we'll have interviewing today. He finished P2, was very close to the podium there, but unfortunately was not able to. The win, sorry. Unfortunately was not able to steal it. So let's go ahead and let's go see what was going through his head during the race. Hello there, how are you doing after that very eventful race at the end there?
Hello.
How are you doing after that race? Like, what's going through your head after coming so close there to nabbing that race win, but then falling short, unfortunately?
Yeah, I have a good pace for the second stint, like the first, but Bruni did defend well. I let pass him, to be fair, and yeah, to just for my first win in AOR, a little bit frustrated, but yeah, good pace. I think a good setup. I let pass Bruni for the first stint to have DRS and manage my race to have a Christian behind. So yeah, good race and good podium to finish this season. Happy for this last race. Little bit frustrated with Mexico and Brazil.
Yeah.
Because I knew I have a good pace, but I have damage. My race was a little bit destroy. So yeah, pretty happy about this race, and let's go.
Now, one of the things that's been going through, I know my head and certainly other people's, is what made you decide to do the one stop? Because going into the race, it was I thought it was universal, two stop, way to go. One stop is like kind of your ballsy thing, but you guys were pulling it off. Like, what was the logic behind that? Because you made it work.
Yeah, that's good. And I have 58% off on my tires, so don't have the really low delta, so it's good. I manage the setup to have low RB and to manage my tire with the race. I let pass Brunies, like I said, and I manage my tires. I was pretty low with wheel spin, and yeah, pretty. I saw the Yano Opmir's video on OL Abu Dhabi, and he did a one-stop strategy. So
Hmm.
I I have the idea to reproduce that with this quality restart. That's good to know and to try it.
Yeah, you made it work, that's for sure. I mean, I was impressed. I was kind of blown away because you guys not only um, did you guys like have the tire strategy right, but you guys had the pace as well. And there's like I was looking through the race director, and you guys were not dropping off. Like that was probably one of the most impressive drives I've seen all season, considering how bad the tires are. But speaking of the season, some question I've asked the other drivers that have come in here, using the memory banks a little bit. So it's been a long season. It's been a very chaotic one. What would you say is your most memorable race on the season?
In France, my home race, I have a good pace. Pretty happy about my first podium, and that's a good race. I try a setup and it works. So yeah, France at home is my favorite race, and second is now Abu Dhabi. And the worst race, I think it's Brazil or Mexico, because I know I have a pace, and Mexico I select the worst strategy to try inters, but not works, and I'm a little bit frustrated and shock my quality. So yeah, worst is Mexico.
I mean, Mexico was chaotic because it did have the rain as well. So
Yeah,
I don't think you can really hold your head down on that. But yeah, you had a fantastic drive today. We look
thanks.
forward to hopefully seeing you back next season because you definitely brought, I mean, you and the rest of the grid brought some exciting racing today. I don't know if you can hear it in my voice, but like I say every week, it's dead for a reason. So we appreciate you racing here as always, and look forward to hopefully seeing you back on the track soon. So
Yeah, thank you, and thank you too for stream and commentate race. It's good and good stream. So
thank you.
happy
It's
about rewatch the stream, the
uh,
replay.
that's what I like to hear, and I'm happy that you guys enjoy it because I enjoy doing it as long as you guys enjoy having me. So, and that's kind of my goal with doing this. So we
Yeah,
hope
good
you
job.
have a good night. Keep your head high because I mean that was a fantastic drive with that P2, and hopefully you can finally grab that P1 in the coming season.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Well, have a wonderful night.
Thank you to you too.
Thank you. All right, and that will be everyone for today. That is our interview. So thank you everyone for joining us for this season of Apex Online Racing PC F1 leagues. Hopefully we'll bring back more streams going forward. Luckily, we'll hopefully bring back the Xbox and PlayStation streams. Possibly get more PC ones as well. That'll be the goal for the new season, and we hope to see you all back with us. During the week as well. We do have the ACC league, so there still will be AOR content while we enter the off season. And we thank you for watching, and as always, have a wonderful night. This is Fizzymon signing off one last time here for Apex Online Racing Hype Energy PC F1. Have a good night.